Om Sai Ram. A warm welcome to all my Sai devotees. Today we are going to listen the 14th chapter of Sri Sai Satcharita, Ratanji's meeting with Sai. Hail Sai Natha, the greatness among all saints. Hail, hail, compassionate one laden with virtues. Hail the unchangeable and supreme one. Hail, hail, the boundless and eminent one. In your infinite mercy towards your devotees upon whom you keep a watch, without their knowledge, you meet them under different pretexts and save them from their difficulties. You are the incarnation to uplift the devotees and to kill the demons who are active in the night in the form of passions which are difficult to overcome. Those who come for darshan in good faith were able to drink the nectar of self contentment and were happy with inner bliss, swaying with love and happiness. Such was Sai Samartha, the embodiment of virtues. I am an ordinary poor and humble person. I prostrate at his feet with humility. In the last chapter, in the story was told about how malaria was cured by making the patient feed a black dog with curds and rice. Terrible diseases like cholera and diarrhea were cured merely by the waving of an admonishing finger or by having rice gruel or roasted peanuts. Similarly, how the shooting pains in the stomach of one person, the earache of another, and the severe tuberculosis of the third person were cured by the means of the mere darshan. How Bhimaji was completely happy by the grace of Sri Sai, and how he was indebted to Sai and totally surrendered to him. In the same manner, this episode is also unique, amazing, and mysterious. Knowing the eagerness of the listeners, I will present it. If the listeners are not attentive, how will the speaker be inspired? How will the narration reach the climax and how will it be interesting? What can a speaker do? He is completely dependent upon the listeners. The listeners make the story entertaining by being absorbed in it. This being the life story of a saint, it is naturally pleasing in all respects. The eating habits of saints, their everyday behavior, and even their casual remarks are enchanting. This is not a life sketch or biography. Sai Maharaj, the cloud of mercy, showered this because of his love for his devotees as the means of remembering him and obtaining bliss. Such are the stories of the great saints who talk about the worldly life but place one on the path of salvation. The stories deal with material and spiritual life at the same time. This must have been their underlying purpose that one should lead a happy life, but should always be careful, and thus this body should be fruitfully utilized. When innumerable merits are accumulated, a soul unexpectedly gets the life of a human being over and above. If a person is able to lead a spiritual life, he is most fortunate. Even in such life, if he does not achieve fulfillment, his being born is useless and only an added weight on the earth. Can he be happier than a mere animal? A human being who does not know anything more than eating, sleeping, fear is no better than an animal shorn of tail and horns. How great is this human life! It is only way to achieve devotion. to God, and the fourfold liberation. This is the only means of self realization. Our existence in this world is of a duration no longer than a flash of lightning. How can people find moments to complete happiness when they are caught between the jaws of destiny? Mother, father, sister, husband, wife, son, daughter, cousin, they are like logs of wood which float in the current of a river. They seem to be together for a moment, then they scatter by the movements of the waves and go separately, never to meet again. He who has not achieved self enhancement has troubled his mother in vain. Without ever surrendering at the feet of saints, birth will be futile. As soon as a being is born, he heads towards death. Therefore, if he believes that death will come at some later date, then he is deceived. One should always remember that death awaits you. This body is a fodder on which death thrives. Such are the ways of the world. Be on guard. In the daily course of life, behave with caution, and you will achieve the highest objective in life without effort. Therefore, do not be lethargic in the world and do not be disinterested in making efforts. Those who do not listen to the story of Sai with love, they will effortlessly benefited. Their devotion at Sai's feet will increase and they will obtain happiness and prosperity. This collection of stories will remind those who are full of affection for Sai of his lotus feet at every step. It describes that which is impossible to put into words and that which is beyond the senses. It makes possible to enjoy however much you may drink this nectar in the form of these words. It is difficult to be fully satisfied. The deeds of saints are impossible and to comprehend. Their glories are beyond description. Who is capable of fully putting them in words? If these stories are regularly heard, Sai's image will perpetually remain before your eyes. Our mind and our hearts we will remember him and meditate upon him day and night. One would perceive him while walking or dreaming, while sitting, resting, or eating. Wherever one goes about, either in society or in the jungle, he would seem to be walking beside him. If thus he is with us day and night, one would be absorbed in divine contemplation, and when this happens every day, the mind will one with the supreme energy. Now I will pick up the threads of my narration from the previous chapter. We will continue the narration. Please listen with respect. One may eat the shira puri of faith and devotion as much as one can, but one will never be satisfied if one eats till one is gorged. So be it. Now another story. Listeners, pay attention to it with respect. The efficiency of the darshan of saint will become firm in your mind. Baba did not do anything outwardly. He did not go anywhere leaving his place, but he knew every sitting at one place and would let it be known to everyone. That eternal truth which dwells in the body pervades the whole universe. Sacrificing the body, experience the unity. One who surrenders to that eternal truth becomes one with all. Know that. If one follows diversity, then one perpetuates the cycle of birth and death. The intellect which regards everything as separate is actually due to ignorance. It needs to be purified by Trishuddhi. However, the advent of the Guru purifies the mind and makes us realize our real self. When one refrains from ignorance, that itself is the realization of oneness. Even if there is at least sense of differentiation, how can these exist at oneness? From Brahman to the immovable object with any name, all are considered as non Brahman due to false knowledge, whereas in reality they are all full of Brahman, one who by nature has profound knowledge of everything and is disinterested in the duties of the mundane existence, and from whom name and form have been obliterated. He is Brahman without limbs, due to the misguided knowledge and illusion and the belief that Brahman is different. These fallacies take place in the mind is lured to the various clinging forms of nature, but when it has the right knowledge, it becomes steady and becomes one with pure consciousness. I am different and the people are different from me. He who does not think in the differentiating manner, for him everything is full of that pure consciousness, and then nothing else remains. One who considers it irksome to do the duties of the mundane existence and has eliminated the feelings of multiplicity altogether. This is reaching Brahmahood. I see myself everywhere. There is no place without me. I fill all places in all the directions. There is nothing else but me. Hold fast to this conviction and put away the misguidance of Maya. Wheel your sight and realize that there is nothing save myself. The listeners could raise a common doubt. How then lies the difference in the self being and knower, and Brahman, the known, is remedy for this? Sense of differentiation has been proved to be the cause of passion. Immediately it causes multiplicity, and that is the reason for birth and death. As soon as dark vision of ignorance disappears, the whole universe also disappears. Everywhere the reality of self fills the vision, and multiplicity takes flight immediately. Pure water poured into pure water remains pure water and is indistinguishable one from the other. The sense is differentiation does not remain. Pieces of wood of different shapes, when put into fire, they look the same. They lost their form and they indistinct, merging themselves in the fire. Similarly, the knowledge that the self is one needs no other proof. The self abides in all beings fully, but it is without form. The false illusion, to the contrary, is the cause of a confused mind which leads to the painful experience of birth and death. Living the being in an unsettled mind, the Siddha abides within the perpetual bliss of self realization, eluding the clutches of Maya and avoiding vexation of name and form, concentrating on the pure and real self. Sri Sai is the true example of this state. Blessed are those who were fortunate enough to get his darshan. The moon reflected in the water appears to be surrounded by water, but it is actually beyond the waters. Likewise, the saints, though surrounded by numerous devotees, are in reality separate from them. Although surrounded by the devotees, there is no attachment to anyone. They abide always in the self and do not at all care for the worldly ties. Such are the great saints and sages that even God does their bidding. There is nothing which is unattainable for them in this world, and nothing which is beyond their knowledge. There are innumerable gurus and disciples in this world who gives and receives respectively the teachings, but rare are the gurus who give actual experience with their teachings. Enough of this initial narration. Let us start with the main story for which the listeners are very anxious. Let them be benefited by listening. In the city of Nanded in the Nizam's dominion, there was a famous Parsi merchant. He was popular and very pious. His name was Ratanji. He had very material position. He owned horses, carriages, farms, and woodlands. The doors of his house were open to all, and nobody was turned away empty handed. In this way, he seemed to be enjoying happiness day and night, but deep inside, he was caught permanently by the crocodile in the form of worry. This is the law of nature that nobody can have undiluted happiness. Some way or the other, everyone has some anxiety. A person may say boastingly that he is superior and the richest. He may walk upright and with uncalled for pride. Whenever saying there is anything without the blemish, it will be flawed at least by the small blot. Therefore, it seems that God does is with his own hands. Ratanji has endowed with wealth. He was hospitable to all, helped the weak and removed their miseries. He was always pleasant. In this way, though the world thought of Saitji was happy, the pleasant pleasure of wealth was of no consequences of a person who had no son. There was no dearth of daughters. There were 12, one after the other. But how could he have the slightest of happiness? How could his mind be at rest? Is there any beauty in a kirtan performed without love? What is the music without harmony and rhyme? And what kind of Brahmin is he who does not wear the sacred thread? What profit is there in proficiency of all arts when there is no sense of discrimination? What is the correct behavior if it is divorced from mercy towards all beings? How is there sanctity in one who wears sandal paste on his forehead and tulsi rosary around his neck if he mocks at saints? What use is pilgrimage without piety and repentance? What good is ornaments without the necklace? What is a hoe without a son? He was constantly worrying about whether God would grant him a virtuous son. This was a nagging anxiety. Because of this, Saitji was always depressed. He could not relish food or drink. He was always grief stricken and was worrying constantly. O God, wash off this blemish and make me flawless. Give an heir to the family. Save me from humiliation. As he had immense faith in Das Ganu, he opened his heart to him, who in return told him to go to Shirdi and wish would be fulfilled. Go and take Baba's darshan, bow down at his feet, and tell him your heart's secret at length. He will bless you. Go, your well being will be assured. Baba's deeds are inconceivable. Surrender to him completely. You will be benefited. Accepting this advice, Ratanji took a decision. After some days, he arrived in Shirdi. He went to the masjid for darshan and prostrated at the feet of Sai. Seeing Maharaj, the store of religious merit, he was overwhelmed with a surge of love for him. He opened a basket, took out a garland of flowers, and lovingly put it round Baba's neck. The fruits he had brought as an offering were placed at Baba's feet. Ratanji, with great humility and highest respect, went and sat near Baba, listened to it with entreaty. I have heard that whenever people have insurmountable problems, they come to you for help and you immediately protect them. Therefore, I have come here to meet you with great hopes and seek a boon at your feet. Please do not turn me away, Maharaja. Then Baba said to him, You have taken a long time to come here. Give me whatever dakshina you wish, then your objective will be fulfilled. Whoever came for darshan and bowed at his feet, whether a Hindu, Muslim, or Parsi, he would ask dakshina from him. Even that was not a small sum, it could be a rupee or two, or 50 or 100 or 1,000 or lakh or more, depending on how much he could afford. Even if it was given, he would ask for more. If he was told there was nothing left, he would say, Take a loan. And when it was impossible to get a loan, he would then stop asking. And he would say to the devotees, Do not worry at all. I will give you plenty of money. Sit near without any care. In this world, everybody has somebody or the other, but nobody belongs to me. Allah and only Allah is mine. If someone loves me more than life, I need such a person. If such a person gives me something, I give to him 100-fold. Even if there was a millionaire Maharaja who would order him to go to a poor man's home and ask for dakshina for him. Baba did not distinguish between a very rich and a poor, and humble and miserable and indigent. One was as good as the other. A person would obey his orders, bow his head, and would go to the homes of the poor and beg on behalf of Baba, giving a pride. The essence of all this was that under the pretext of dakshina, Baba would teach humility to his devotees. One may doubt why a sadhu needs money, but in this respect, if you think properly, your doubts will be cleared. If Sai has fulfilled all his wishes, why does he require dakshina? How can he be called desireless when he asks for money from his devotees? Why does he stretch out his hands when the hailstone of the diamond or the copper coin or the gold mohur are alike to him? When he begs for food only for the appeasement of the hunger and has taken the vow of non-attachment, when he appears to be without expectations and totally disinterested, why then this desire for dakshina? Why should a person stood to begging for money at whose doorsteps the 8 siddhis stand to serve him with folded hands, and the 9 treasures are those who command? How can money matter to one who spurns the material objects and cares not even for heaven, but is lost wholly within the self? Those who are saints, pious, and holy are the well-versed in scriptures and whose life is dedicated to the welfare of the devotees. Why should they need money? Why does the sadhu need dakshina? He should be desireless. In spite of being a fakir, he cannot escape greed and is always worshipping money. At the first darshan, he expects dakshina. At the next darshan, he asks for dakshina. While taking leave, also he asks for dakshina. What is the meaning of asking every time? Traditionally, in the beginning, drinking water is offered, then washing of hands and mouth is done. Afterwards, pan and betel nut are offered, followed by dakshina. But Baba's system was strange. While the sandalwood paste was being anointed, or the rice mixed with turmeric and other decorations were offered, he expected dakshina to be offered at that time. As soon as the preliminaries of the ritual started, Baba would ask for dakshina. Therefore, the moment one had to give up as if it and was offering a Brahmin. Now, to clear the doubt, a lot of efforts are not needed if you pay attention for a while. You will be satisfied. Wealth should be accumulated for good cause, but it is spent on trivial things of worldly passions. Because of wealth, good deeds can be performed. Because of good deeds, real knowledge is gained. Selfishness is transformed into acquiring spiritual knowledge. These results are contentment. In the beginning, for a long time, Baba did not take anything. He would collect burnt matchsticks and fill his pocket with them. He would ask for nothing, whether it be a former follower or a non-devotee. If paisa or two were placed before him, he would purchase tobacco or oil from it. He greatly loved tobacco. He smoked bidis or chillum. This chillum served him sincerely, it was rarely unlit. On, somebody thought that how could he go empty-handed for the darshan of a saint. Therefore he started accepting dakshina. If anyone offered him 1 paisa, he would put it in his pocket, but if he was offered 2 paise, he would return it as it is. This went on for a long time, but after some time Sai Baba's fame increased. Hordes of devotees started coming. Systematic worship started taking place. Worshippers were aware of the conventions of puja and that without offering dakshina in the form of gold or flowers, a puja would not be complete. Dakshina for Guru Puja is a necessary as gift at that time of a king's coronation or at the time of Parapuja. It is said in the Vedas that those who offer dakshina attain the highest position. Those who offer gold coins attain salvation and wisdom and purity of minds. It is also said that offering sandalwood paste brings sanctity. Offering rice colored with kumkum and turmeric brings long life. Offering flowers and beech nut brings wealth and prosperity and great riches by dakshina. The golden flower of dakshina is an important in puja as sandalwood colored rice for flowers, betel nuts for its bestowed on the giver vast riches. Dakshina is necessary as the time of puja of a deity as well as the worship of a siddha. It is a custom of those who perform the vrat at the time of its completion to offer gold as gift to the Brahmins. The frantic activities of this depends on totally on money. It is also the means of covering up loss of reputation. Money is essential for that. When uttering the Vedic mantras Hiranyagarbha, Garbhastha, etc. at the time of worship of deity, dakshina is satisfied. Then why should it be given when worshipped a saint? When going for the darshan of a saint, each one behaves as per his own light. Every person has a different viewpoint, and it is different for all to agree upon one and the same thing. Some go with a view to sing praises and pay their respects. Some go to test a saint. Some think that the saint is he who can read your mind and tell you. Some pray for longevity, some want elephants, gold, wealth, property, some wish for sons and grandsons, some want perpetual powers. Baba's method of dealing with people was unique. If any came without the intention of ridiculing him, those persons' wickedness would be destroyed and they would become humble and bow down at him at his lotus feet. If they were not fortunate enough for that, then at least they would repent, lose all pride undoubtedly, and would certainly get proof of Baba's powers. All these were ordinary, simple devotees completely attached to the world. Their minds should be purified by making them offer dakshina, was what Baba willed. The Shrutis prescribe sacrifice, charity, and dedicated effort as the means. One desirous of self realization should offer dakshina because it is one of the easiest means of acquiring it. This is clearly said in the Vedas. A devotee, whether selfish or desirous or spiritual life, both kinds, if they desire that their objectives are fulfilled, should give dakshina to their respective gurus for their own good. Even Prajapati preached the same principle to his three progeny, with gods, demons, and the human beings at the time of completion of brahmacharya when they asked for upadesh. He uttered the single letter Da as Upadesh. He was the meaning of it. He asked them and confirmed their interpretation. It was a strange leela between Guru and disciple. The gods understood it as Dantra, to have restrained the demon, understand it as Daya, to be kind. The humans understood it as Dana, to be charitable. Prajapati said, well done, well done. Gods are not a people apart. They are human beings only, but with a different nature. They imbibe their best virtues with themselves and exercise restraint. Their character earns them their title. Among humans, only there are demons. They resort to violence. They are wicked and harsh. They are extremely avaricious. Such are the three kinds of human beings. Greed is man's major vice. Even then, to save man from the deep, dark pit of greed, Sai Nath, the ocean of kindness, stretches his arm and pulls them out. In the Taittiriya Upanishad and the Ekadashi Shruti, many kinds of charities are mentioned. Listen to each of them. Give with reverence and faith. Giving without faith is futile. One should respect the commands of the king and the dictums of the scriptures, and should give something out of sense of decency. At weddings, the other social occasions, you must give gifts to keep up goodwill because it is the custom of society. Such are the preachings. Baba also, as per this letter Da, asked the same thing from his devotees for their own good. Be kind, be charitable, be restrained. You will get great happiness. There are three vices of which to be without restraint is one. To remove the effect of these, the only simply remedy is the one letter advice which the teachers have been teaching to the students. Passion, anger, and greed are the most inauspicious for progressing on the path of spirituality. It is very difficult to conquer them, for which this is very simple remedy. Just as the Shrutis, so also are the Smritis. Such is their confirmation. I am giving here a quotation for the benefit of the listeners, so that they have better the firm understanding. Passion, anger, and greed are the three doors to hell and are the cause of the destruction of self. Therefore, they should be definitely discarded. The very kind of great Sai asked for dakshina from his devotees of their own well-being and thus taught them to sacrifice. What is the value of dakshina? What is spirituality if one is not ready to lay down one's life to carry out a command of his guru? Really, what reason did Baba have for asking for dakshina other than for the good of his devotees? His own life did not depend on dakshina. He begged alms for food. There was no selfish motive behind his asking for dakshina. His only objective was his devotee's mind should be purified. According to the above mentioned quotation from the Vedas, dakshinas was essential. Until that is given, a puja is never complete. Now let us bring an end to this section about dakshina. Its meaning is very clearly explained. There is no ulterior motive or greed in accepting dakshina, which was taken only for the benefit of the devotees. Therefore, we will narrate further in details an unfinished story. Listen to Ratanji's episode of Dakshina and Sai's marvelous handling of it. Listeners, listen with full devotion to this amazing story and see how Sai is unique and free from greed. At the time of asking for dakshina from the Sethji, Sai mentioned an instance of the past, which Sethji could not recall as he was bewildered. You gave me rupees 3 and 14 annas earlier. That I know. Out of the amount intended for me. Give me only the balance. Give that to me as dakshina. This was the first darshan of Baba. Hearing these words of Baba, Ratanji Seth was amazed and tried to recollect. I have not come to Shirdi before, nor have I sent anything with anybody. In these circumstances, notice his surprise at Sai Maharaj's words. Such a thing had not happened. Ratanji was embarrassed. He gave the dakshina and bowed down but could not resolve the annoyance. It was left at that. He told the reason for coming. Again he prostrated at his feet and sat with folded hands. Sethji was very satisfied and said, Baba, it is good that my last birth's good deeds have borne fruit and that I am able to have the darshan of your feet. I am ill-fated, ignorant, and know not to perform puja rituals and sacrifice. Due to destiny, I have been able to take darshan of this sagacious person, knower of past, present, and future. You know the reason for my unhappiness. O compassionate one, please remove it. O kind one, do not send the ardent devotee away from your feet. Sainath felt pity for him. He said, Do not worry unnecessarily. Your misfortunes henceforth will start diminishing. He gave him the prasad of Udi in his hand and laid his boon-giving hand on his head. Allah will fulfill your heart's desire. With these words, he blessed Sethji. Then Ratanji took his permission to live and returned Nanded. Whatever had happened was described in detail to Das Ganu. I had a good darshan, as desired. My heart was full of joy. I have received his boon and assurance and have been blessed. Everything went off fine, but I did not understand one thing. What was it that Maharaj said? I did not follow it at all. You gave me rupees 3 and 14 annas earlier. That I know. Explain to me clearly what these words of Baba meant. What rupees and what annas? When did I give him earlier? I do not understand the mystery of it, because I went to Shirdi for the first time. I cannot solve this mystery. I feel that this is an intriguing puzzle. It is beyond my comprehension. Can you please enlighten me? This is a mystery Das Ganu thought of himself. What could be the meaning? He couldn't come to any conclusion. After a lot of thinking, he recalled the Aulia who was called Mauli Sahib, he was reminded of him. He was a Muslim. His behavior was like that of a saint. He worked as a coolie for his living, living himself on the mercy of fate. If I give his life story in detail, it would be a deviation from our own subject. Besides, the life of the Mauli Sahib is known to everybody in Nanded. At this time, when the visit to Shirdi was decided, Mauli Sahib had casually come to Sethji's house on his own. There was deep mutual affection between them, so he was offered fruits, refreshments, garlands, as was the custom. Sethji was inspired to offer a light meal to Mauli, and Das Ganu thought at that moment of checking the expenses of the same. He asked for details of the expenses, added each and every pie, and totaled it, which turned out exactly to be the rupees 3 and 14 annas, neither more nor less. Everyone was astonished that Baba had known this and had, as it were, a receipt for it. Sai Maharaj was a store of knowledge. Sitting in the masjid, he was aware of everything, the past, the present, and the future, whenever and in whatever country it must happen. Unless Sai Samartha had become one with all beings, it could be possible for him to experience or to tell others what kind of things. Nanded is far away from Shirdi. There is a lot of distance between the two. Besides, these are the two saints did not know each other. How could Sai have got this information? Sai Maharaj is one person and Mauli Bua someone else. This is a misconception of dualism. In reality, there is no difference between them. Mauli Bua's soul is the same as that which resides in every being. But he is blessed who knows the secret of oneness of soul. Though the outer bodies are two internally, they were united. It is wrong even to use the words those two, for they were never separate. They both had the same knowledge, same soul, same aim, but were the essence of this one supreme energy and of the same nature. There is a big distance between the Shirdi and Nanded, but their minds were the unison. They had the same soul, as it were, the same body. Therefore, they exchanged the communication. How marvelous are the saints and the sages! They are, as it were, the wireless machines without the cables. Anything might take place anywhere in the world. They are aware of it from the beginning to the end. Later, after the suitable passage of time, God blessed Ratanji. His wife conceived. The tree of hope blossomed. At an auspicious time, his wife delivered, the blessing bore fruit. A jewel of son was born, and Ratanji was delighted. His contentment could be described as that of abundant rains after many years of drought, because he had got a son. Later on, the family tree bloomed, branches spread out in due course of flourished and bore fruits with sons and daughters. Ratanji was happy. Later on, also, he went to Sai Darshan, with whose blessing his desires were fulfilled. He was truly contented. Even though a mango tree blossoms fully during spring, all the fruits do not ripen. Similarly, out of 12 children, only 4 survived and led happy lives in Nandal. Ratanji, being of a gentle temperament, believed in cheerfully accepting whatever happens due to destiny, so he did not regret this at all. Now, the gist of the next story is that Sai pervades the whole world, both animate and inanimate. A person can truly have experience of this wherever he may be. How great Guru was pleased because of a faith and devotion with a poor helpless man from Thane whose surname was Cholkar. How this man came to make the vow to Sai without ever having seen him before, and how his wishes were fulfilled and the experience he received from Sai. Just as bhajan is no bhajan without love, reading a book without comprehension is no reading, so is praying to God without a sense of devotion. All these efforts are futile. So is knowledge without experience like the forehead without the kumkum tilak. This is not the bookish statement, but you can test and prove it. Why is this book about Sai's Leela being written? I do not know. Why am I so involved with it? It is written by Sai through me. Therefore, he alone knows the significance. Besides, to write such a book, authoritative knowledge is required. But I am serving Sai and I am only the subordinate. I am under his command. Listeners are like thirsty chatak birds. Sai Samartha is the cloud of self-contentment who pours showers in the form of his life story to quench the thirst. Let my body completely prostrate in the dust of his lotus feet, at whose command the speech is inspired and whose life story it describes. He is the inspiration behind the words. He is the only one who tells his own story. Therefore, let my wayward mind rest at his feet. Just as these bhajans through speech and body, so also my mind should constantly think about Sai, who is the source of unending happiness. I am a humble servant of Sai. In reality, Sai himself manifests in the form of narration of his life story and the inspiration. But is he different from the listeners? Nay, the listeners is also not separate from Sai. Seemingly, it appears like a simple biography, but this whole drama is played by Sai. He himself becomes the actor and lovingly stages the powerful drama. Unfathomable is Sai Baba's story. He makes the devotees undergo mysterious experiences. He has made me instrumental in writing and thus pleases his devotees and hearts of follow. This is not the story, but the treasure of trove of joy. It is the best nectar-like sweetmeat for oneself, which should be enjoyed with faith and devotion by one who is exceptionally happy. Wondrous and great is Guru's grace. His greatness should always be remembered by us. Therefore, he has served his devotees by toiling over the book for his pleasure. If this book is sung lovingly, the pleasures of listening will enhance and understanding the meaning of intent, enrich, and devotees' love and devotion will grow manifold. If you listen to it day and night, the bounds of worldly attachments will be broken. The triple consciousness of the meditator, the object meditated upon, the meditation will disappear, and the listeners will be full of happy. Hemant surrenders the singleness of hearts in the feet of Sai, firmly holding them. Let me not forget you even momentarily, but remain forever at your feet. May there be well-being. This is the end of the 14th chapter of Sri Sai Satcharita, written by the devotee Hemantpant, impelled by the saints and the virtuous people, called Ratanji's meeting with Sai. This is offered to Sri Sadguru Sainath. May there be auspiciousness. Om Sai Ram.